I remember the first time I truly felt lost in English. It was a moment of complete silence during a conversation. I knew the words. I could read them, write them, even understand them, but they wouldn't come out. My mouth was dry, my brain tangled in translation. You've probably had a similar experience. Maybe you're learning English for work, travel, or simply because you know it's a universal language. But no matter how much you learn, sometimes it just doesn't feel natural. The truth is, building your English brain isn't about memorizing words or rules. It's about developing a new way of thinking. It's a journey, a slow one, but a rewarding one that turns frustration into growth, awkwardness into fluency. So let's talk about how you can build your English brain, one method at a time. Method 1. Immerse yourself in the English environment. You know how the best way to learn a language is to be surrounded by it? That's immersion. At first, it felt like drowning. I remember my first attempt, watching an English movie without subtitles, only to find myself lost after 5 minutes. But something strange happened as I kept at it. Even though I didn't understand every word, I could feel the rhythm. I could pick up on the emotions. It was as if my brain was absorbing the language even when I wasn't paying attention. I started hearing words repeated in different contexts, connecting the dots between how they were used and what they meant. The key is to create an environment where English is always present. Watch TV shows, listen to podcasts, follow English accounts on social media. Don't just study English, live in it. You might think this will take up all your time, but it doesn't have to. Even in small moments, waiting for the bus, drinking your coffee, you can plug into English. Eventually, you'll realize that you're not learning English anymore. You're living it. At first, it's hard, but soon, English isn't just a task, it's a language you feel. It's your new environment. Method 2. Master the art of practice in small doses. We've all been there. We think we need hours of study to make real progress, but here's the truth. Small, consistent doses of practice are far more effective than cramming for hours. I used to spend entire afternoons studying, but I'd burn out after a few days. It wasn't sustainable. Then I realized something. What if I practiced every day for just 10 minutes? At first, it seemed too little, but I stuck with it. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Sometimes it was listening to a podcast. Other times it was reading a short article. It wasn't about quantity. It was about consistency. That's when everything shifted. I didn't need hours. I just needed to show up. Think of it like working out. You don't need to run a marathon every day. Just a few minutes of practice consistently will make your English muscles stronger. So start small. Commit to 10 minutes a day. Trust me, you'll start to see results. And you won't burn out. Method 3. Think in English. This is where the real transformation begins. You've probably heard it before. Think in English. But it's not as easy as it sounds, is it? I remember trying to think in English for the first time. It was frustrating. I kept translating everything in my head, jumping from one language to another. I'd think of something in my native tongue, then scramble to find the English equivalent. It felt clunky and awkward. But the more I practiced, the more my brain started to switch. Slowly, I stopped translating. I started thinking directly in English. It's like learning to walk again. At first, you stumble, but then one day you realize you've been walking for miles without thinking about it. Thinking in English doesn't just make you fluent, it makes the language a part of you. You no longer need to search for words. They come naturally. Your brain adapts and it becomes the default way you process thoughts. It will take time, but when it happens, you'll see how much more effortless English feels. Method 4. Use mistakes as feedback. I used to dread making mistakes. I was terrified of saying something wrong in front of others. But here's the truth, I had to learn the hard way. Mistakes aren't something to fear. They're opportunities to grow. I remember a conversation where I got an entire sentence wrong. I froze, expecting judgment. But the person I was speaking with simply smiled and corrected me gently. It wasn't a big deal. And I realized something. I learned more from that mistake than I had from hours of studying. Mistakes are feedback. They tell you where you need to improve, and they show you where you're getting better. So embrace your mistakes. Don't see them as failures. See them as your stepping stones to fluency. With each mistake, you're one step closer to mastery. Method 5. Build emotional connections with words. Words aren't just tools to communicate. They carry emotions. And when you start connecting words to feelings, you start understanding them on a deeper level. For example, think of the word home. When you say it, what do you feel? Comfort? Warmth? A sense of belonging? That's the emotional connection I'm talking about. When you learn new words, don't just memorize them, feel them. I used to struggle with love. It felt like just a word until I connected it to real experiences in my life. The feeling of holding someone's hand, the comfort of hearing someone say, I love you. That's when love stopped being a definition. It became an experience. If you start learning words this way, you'll find that your vocabulary expands not just in words, but in meaning. English will no longer be something you study, it will be something you experience. Method 6. Practice with others. It's one thing to study on your own, but it's entirely different when you start speaking with others. I used to be shy about practicing English with others. I was afraid of sounding wrong, of making a fool of myself. But then I realized the only way to truly improve is by engaging with others. I remember the first time I had a conversation in English. I was nervous, but I just went for it. My mistakes didn't matter. What mattered was that I was communicating, connecting. The more I practiced with others, the more confident I became. Speaking with people makes English real. It's no longer just words, it's a tool for connection. So start having conversations. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. Every conversation is a victory. Method 7. Challenge yourself with new topics. When we're comfortable, we don't grow. At first, I stuck to basic topics in English. I talk about the weather, daily activities, things I already knew. But eventually, I hit a plateau. I was no longer learning, I was just repeating. That's when I started challenging myself with new topics. I'd read articles about science, technology, history, things I wasn't familiar with. It was hard at first. There were words I didn't understand, sentences that didn't make sense. But something incredible happened. The more I pushed myself, the more my English expanded. I wasn't just talking about simple things anymore, I was discussing complex ideas and my vocabulary grew. Challenge yourself with new topics. Push past your comfort zone. That's when you'll truly see your language skills grow. Method 8. Stay consistent, but be patient with yourself. The hardest part of any journey is staying consistent. There will be days when it feels like you're not making any progress, days when you feel stuck. But that's okay. Growth isn't linear. I remember times when I felt discouraged. I'd practice every day, but it didn't seem to help. But eventually it clicked. All those small moments of practice added up. I realized I was learning without even realizing it. The key is consistency. Even on days when you feel stuck, just show up. Trust the process. Be patient with yourself. Remember, English isn't something you can master overnight. It's something you build day by day, moment by moment. So here we are. You've learned 8 methods to build your English brain. But the real question is, are you ready to take the journey? Learning English isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up every day, embracing your mistakes, and connecting with the language on a deeper level. And one day, you'll realize it's no longer something you study. It's something you live. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Share your own English learning journey with us in the comments. We're all in this together.